All right, are we both in it? Yeah, great. All right, no kicking the table this time. It's uneven. No tapping, no kicking.
I got to remember rules in the podcast.
There's always rules. All right. Well, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
And welcome back to the Pastors Podcast on the Becoming Resources channel. We are the pastors. I am Jill.
And I am Greg.
And we finally did land on a name, and we did go with the Pastors Podcast, and we wanted to kind of let you know why we decided to do that. We're just, honestly, it's very, very simple. We are both pastors. And we applied on a game show like he told you about, and they were very intrigued by that.
Father, daughter, being pastors.
Yeah, they thought it was very intriguing. So we're like, okay, maybe this is something that people are interested in. So we just want to show you how we live our lives and how we put God in the middle of everything. And, you know, it's not only going to be about the Bible, but that's going to definitely make its way in there. But we're going to talk about other stuff.
And we're going to talk about Christmas today. So
Christmas. We're going to talk about Christmas today. We talk about leadership. You're going to talk about sports. I'm going to guess there's a sports analogy that's going to be in here somewhere.
Well, I don't know. Maybe.
It'll happen. But today we're talking about Christmas because it is Christmas today. So Merry Christmas.
Let's talk about traditions.
Let's do that.
Things that you now have your family.
That's true.
That you're starting to transition in. And things we've done in the past in our family. So
we're starting a new one this year.
Tell me.
We have a little opening to get into our living room, and we're going to wrap it with paper and let our daughter break through it like a football game.
There's a sports analogy right there.
There it was. But she's going to unwrap the first present, which would be to unwrap the room where all the presents are.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you're going to start a new tradition this year?
New tradition this year, yeah.
Well, you know, traditions for me when I was growing up, we grew up in a very small house in Branson, Missouri. And we would go out the week before. We didn't have a lot of money. Go out the week before, and we would just drive along the road until we saw in a field an evergreen tree, and somehow that was legal to go take a axe out. And so we pulled the truck into the field, somebody else's land, I'm sure, and went out, and my dad said, "Here's the tree." And so he took an axe out and cut the tree and put it in the back of the pickup truck, and we took it home, and we put it into a little container of water because we wanted to live for 7 days in theory. And we had shag carpet. This is important. Shag carpet. Okay. And we put that tree up, and then my mom and dad, although didn't have a lot of money, they would get a bag of soldiers, and they'd wrap individually. So we had 10 soldiers to open, little bitty soldiers that probably cost $1. And so what we would do is we were so excited about Christmas that we would get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And my dad, he would go outside when it had snow, and he put his fingers in the snow for reindeer prints. And he would go, "Ho, ho, ho, Merry Christmas, Greg and Russ, my brother." And then we would run out. We're excited. It's 4 o'clock in the morning, and we would open those presents and paper flying everywhere. And then at about 5 o'clock, my mom would then make breakfast for 20 minutes in a skillet, and we'd have the eggs and biscuits and gravy. We'd eat that. By 5:30, by 6 o'clock, we were done, and we had to pick all the trash up, and then the shag carpet come into play because we have this the evergreen little things would come in the carpet. And my dad would go, "Russ and Greg, shag the carpet." And so we were on our hands and knees picking up the tree. And then we would carry the tree out to the road for the trash man to come. And by 6 o'clock, Christmas was over at the Mark Courthouse.
That's sad.
A little bit sad. So now we have a grandchild who loves to open presents. So it's going to take 4 or 5 hours.
My dad did not drive along the road and chop trees down.
I did not.
We had artificial trees. And we have tons of artificial trees. I did a post on my Instagram. I have 21 trees. They have a few more, not a ton more.
27 trees.
So, and their house is bigger. So, it is a competition. But we do have a lot of trees, and I'm glad that they don't have to be thrown away 5 minutes after we open our presents.
That's true. So we hope you have a all day long Merry Christmas with you and your family wherever you're at. So let's talk about Christmas a little bit. Of course, the meaning of Christmas is Jesus being born. This is Jesus' birthday. So happy birthday to Jesus.
Yes.
And
Evelyn was singing a song about that this morning. I was setting up to film, and I was getting ready, and I hear her singing, "Happy birthday, Jesus," like in the other room. I'm like, "Aww."
That's awesome.
In front of the camera, which was not on, sadly. But she was singing it, and it was very cute.
Teach your kids at a young age what Christmas is all about. So, when you look in the Bible and there's not anything that's certain about an event, then you got to be careful not to say, I'm exactly sure this happened. But what's also interesting is if you study the Bible, you can actually get hints. God gives us hints of things that most likely happened. Right. So when you go back, people ask all the time, hey, was Jesus born on 0 year? So you got before BC, AD, and really Jesus probably was born between 4 and 6 BC because Caesar Augustus was chasing Jesus down trying to kill the babies, and he died in 4 BC. So if he died in 4 BC, then Jesus would have been born before that, so 4, 5, 6 BC. Yeah. Jesus died when he was 33 years old, so somewhere around 27 to 29 AD is when Jesus would have died.
Hold on.
Then you would say, okay, now what time of year was he born? So a couple more clues are this, is that you see that Jesus, Mary and Joseph, mother and father, needed to travel to Jerusalem to be counted, right? They had to count people. And then we've probably done it during a festival. Yeah. And there's like 3 festivals going on. 2 of them would have been in the fall, one in the spring. And it would have been colder, so it would have been harder to travel, probably in the winter. So it's probably not December 25th, okay? And we'll get to that in just a minute. But probably in the fall or spring. Then you're going, well, is it the fall or spring? Again, hints, right? But what you do is you go back to his cousin, John the Baptist, who was born 6 months prior, the Bible said. And John the Baptist's dad was a priest, and he would be doing his duty, probably second tour, would have been in June the prior year. Yeah. And so if John, and the angel appeared to John Baptist's dad and said, hey, your wife is going to have a baby. She's pregnant now. And then 9 months later would have been March. Yeah. So probably March is John the Baptist's birthday. If Jesus was born 6 months later, then it's probably September, October. So probably the fall, which makes sense on a travel, right? So why is December 25th? Well, great question. What happened is there was a pagan holiday that was being celebrated in December, right in the December 25th time frame. And the Christians at that time wanted to do something to diffuse that. Yeah. And they're like, hey, we don't have a birth date to celebrate of Jesus. How about if we use December 25th as the celebration day? So that's how we celebrate on December 25th, and most likely he was born in the fall.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So, it's kind of fun to study the Bible that way and kind of go, okay.
It's like a puzzle.
A little bit of a puzzle.
And I think what you said at the beginning is true. And I think as we get into studying different concepts, we always want to say, I'm correct. And Oswald Chambers has a quote about like our religion being so solidified in our heads that we can be throwing it at people, you know. But I think what you said is really good. Hey, the Bible gives us hints. And God gives us these opportunities to solve some of the mystery, but we're not going to get it all. So just an open hand. It's like, I think this might happen, but you've always said this. Does it matter in eternity if I know that Jesus was born in September, December, or the spring sometime? It doesn't. I believe in Jesus. I know he came. When he came is, there's a lot of people we don't know their birthday.
Yeah, Christmas, Jesus is born. Easter, Jesus died for our sins. Yeah. And allowed us to come into a relationship with God through the grace of that event. Yeah. But is there a point to all this study? And there's a couple things. One, study your Bible, right? Just don't read through it. Just don't gloss through it. Really, if you want to dig into it, then dig into it and ask questions and study a little bit because you can pull more out of it if you go through the event. But the second thing is there's a leadership principle. Yeah. And we preached, we were at Radiant Church in Arizona, and we had 12 Christmases. And, after a while, you're like, okay, can we have a message about Christmas through the eyes of the Mary, through the eyes of Joseph, mom and dad.
The innkeeper.
The wise men, the angels, the shepherds.
The sheep.
But then I came across something the other day, and I never thought about this. What about Christmas through the eyes of the donkey? Now, in the Bible, can you find where Jesus rode a donkey when Mary was carrying him? No, you can't.
He did later. That's not what we're talking about.
But when you see that event, and they're traveling about 70 miles from Nazareth to Bethlehem, right? What you see on that journey is there's most likely with Mary carrying Jesus really at full term, because you get to the end, they had the baby. Probably there's going to be an animal. And at that time...
She's riding on something, people.
Not a camel.
No.
Okay. And
Too bumpy.
There was no cars back then, no buses, no trains. So probably all they could afford in that day would be a donkey. Yeah. Okay, so they're riding the donkey. She's probably on the donkey. So the donkey probably carried Jesus all the way to Bethlehem. There's no room in the inn, so now it's in the mangers. There's animals. And probably the donkey, now that he's done carrying Jesus, is probably standing at the side having some hay. right?
Yeah.
Having a bite to eat, probably hungry.
Happy about that.
So what's the leadership principle? Here's the leadership principle. Think about this for a minute. Sometimes we need to be the donkey.
Yeah.
Sometimes we need to carry the weight of responsibility, step out of the way, and let other people take the credit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really good.
There's a humility piece to say, you know what, I don't have to be the one to get the credit, but I do want to get the ball across the end zone.
Yeah, there it was.
Right?
Sports.
Without taking the credit for it. And I think God trusts people like that.
And I think some examples of that would be really good. I know for me, that always came up. Sometimes I'll plant, you plant seeds sometimes. Mm-hmm. And somebody finally takes your idea. And when they present it as their idea. And you, in your mind, are like, I said that. That would, but those are those moments. That's an example of one of those moments where it's like, it doesn't matter who said it. It doesn't matter, because if it's the best idea for the organization and it's getting done, it doesn't matter if it was your idea or somebody, unless your motive is just to promote yourself, and then that when you back that up.
And really, there's nothing original in this world other than God creating the world and creating you and I. So.
Yeah, God is the originator of things, and we just continue on.
Yeah. Right.
So, what are some other examples where you've either done that in your leadership roles or seen that played out to where you might need to kind of just step back?
Yeah, I think when you're developing leaders, and we talked about that a little bit earlier, but when you develop leaders, it's really fun to see them succeed because, and you got to watch the pride issue, so you kind of keep the pride in check, but it's fun for them to go, we did it.
Yeah.
Right? And there's a confidence that happens, and with the confidence comes an authority, and authority that happens, then there's leaders that go, I know I can do this.
Yes.
Right? And so if you keep taking credit for it, then they keep looking to you to do it.
Right.
But if you can deflect it and you can get other people to do it, then all of a sudden your team gets better.
That's good.
And the next generation gets invested in, and when you're gone, your time is done, and the organization thrives.
That's super important too, because when you're, like you said, when you're empowering leaders and you're growing young leaders, something that I've seen and I experienced when I didn't use it, but I came out of PT school. If I had to walk into a PT clinic with my license and say, okay, I'm going to be the physical therapist, and I don't have a safety net, that's really scary. You can have all the head knowledge, but nobody knows what they're doing until they've done it. So if you can be the person that gently pulls that safety net away while giving confidence to someone you're leading, that's invaluable. Yeah. That's great.
There you go. So, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Don't forget to be the donkey.
Yes, and definitely open lots of presents, have lots of food. We're going to have cinnamon rolls.
Cinnamon rolls!
We love cinnamon rolls. Well, Merry Christmas. Thanks for being on here and talking about Christmas. Thanks for not cutting down trees on the side of the road. I appreciate that. I like my artificial trees. Yes. But Merry Christmas again, you guys. I hope you have a wonderful day. We're praying for you. We believe in you guys. And we are here to see God make you all that you need to become. So if you are enjoying the Pastor's Podcast, make sure you hit that subscribe button and share it with your friends, because this is something that you can use to invest in other people, just like we're talking about with leaders. And if you need some more, we are here for you guys at becomingresources.com. We have all kinds of resources, so make sure you check that out as well. But for now, have a wonderful day. Lead people well and become the person you were created to be.